The global population continues to face many challenging situations daily. Climate change, financial losses, fear, anxiety, sickness, death. It may sometimes seem like this season of gloom will never end, and many are losing hope. The future may be daunting, but in the midst of your hopelessness, I can assure you that God, who is the creator of this world, still has the world in the palm of his hands, and for this reason, you can still have hope.
There's power in the name of Jesus. Yeah. Salvation in the name of Jesus. Jesus. There's a healing in the fire. So He will cleanse you, make you whole. And it's all in the name of Jesus. Yeah. You might need to call tonight. Say, oh, 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 Jesus. Somebody ought to call his name. Oh, Jesus. His name is Jesus.
We want to welcome you again to the Wednesday night Bible classes for the Stonecrest Church of Christ. We are as pleased. There's a good punch each Wednesday evening as you join with us in studying the Word of God. Before we begin our presentation on tonight, we would remind you that beginning this Sunday, May 5th, will be the fourth annual Stonecrest Issachar Conference, where we will be having lecturers from throughout the United States, beginning Sunday afternoon with our women's session to deliver lectures on the theme, the playlist, studies from the book of Psalms. And I hope that you caught that connection, because that's what I've been dealing with the last 2 weeks. We'll be dealing with it again on tonight. And then after tonight, we are going to allow you to hear some of those lectures that would have been spoken at the virtual conference. I've been preparing the soil, the background, the introduction, the structure to the book of Psalms, so that you might be able to appreciate the lectures that you're going to hear beginning this Sunday afternoon at 2 p.m. Now, in order to listen to the conference, you can simply go directly to our website. Lead Dog is going to put that information on the screen for you. You simply go to Stonecrest Issachar Conference.com. You can view the virtual conference just by going to our conference website and just hitting the button. And at the appropriate scheduled time for the conference to begin, it will just start automatically. You don't have to do anything else. Just go to the conference website and hit the button, and the conference will be started for you. Now, while you are at the conference website, the schedule of all of the lecturers, their time, their day, their session is already on our website. And all you have to do is go to our conference website, stonecrestissacharconference.com, and then hit the button that says schedule, and the schedule for the conference, all of the speakers, all of their bios, all of their topics and their text is already on the conference website. So all you have to do is simply go to stonecrestissacharconference.com and hit schedule, and all of that information will be available to you in a pull-down menu. Now, we would also encourage you while you're at the website to donate to the conference. There's no fee for the conference. We are grateful for those of you who have already contributed. We are grateful to the Solomon Foundation for being a major sponsor of the conference. There are others who have given significant donations and will be credited for your donations in the credits at the end of the conference. And we're asking for donations because we are sending resources to two of my and our favorite charities and ministries. Number one, Southwestern Christian College in Terrell, Texas, the only predominantly African-American Churches of Christ related Christian college in the United States. And then we are sending resources to Keep It Real Prison Ministry. This has become one of my favorites. David Green is a part of our conference. I will interview David Green. You don't want to miss that interview, where he tells us of his own personal history as a former ex-convict. The Lord turned him around, changed his life, and now he leads a ministry for men and women in the New Orleans, Louisiana area, and Angola State Prison, where there are, listen to this, more than 2,000 Christians, members of the body of Christ, inside of Angola State Prison because of the ministry of David Green. You do not want to miss that interview. And our church has been supporting his ministry. It is a ministry whereby when inmates and fellow prisoners have been released, David's ministry acts as a halfway house, if you will, to help men and women to adjust back into the community, into society. They help them with jobs. They help them with rehabilitation relative to all kinds of addictions that they have been dealing with. It is a blessed ministry of God, and the Issachar Conference and the Stonecrest Church is happy to be able to lend support to such a worthy mission and such a worthy ministry. And so we ask that you go to the website and donate, and your donations will be going in part to Keep It Real Prison Ministry, as well as Southwestern Christian College in Terrell, Texas. We want to acknowledge a recent donation that we have received by one of our own members by the name of David Ferguson, who has donated, and here's the check right here, to the Keep It Real Prison Ministry. We acknowledge another donation coming out of Los Angeles, California, who chooses to remain anonymous for $2,500. Our goal is to send at least $5,000. We did that last year, and we want to surpass that this year. And the way we do it is because of your generosity. Again, now, the Issachar Conference will begin this coming Sunday, May 5th at 2 p.m. And there are a number of places you can watch it, even right here. But what we ask that you do is simply to go to our website. Of course, we have a YouTube page where all of these videos have been uploaded, but the best place to go is StonecrestIssacharConference.com. That will be a big old button there. When you hit it, then of course you will immediately go into conference session. So please, one more time, Stonecrest Issachar Conference this Sunday, beginning at 2 p.m. Now, our thematic thrust for the conference is the playlist studies from the book of Psalms. And what I've been doing the last several weeks, and we'll continue it after you would have watched a number of videos that will come out of our conference. But what I wanted to do is to prepare you for both the background, the introduction, and the structure of the book of Psalms. What I'm saying to you and what I've said to you the last 2 weeks, you will hear again during the course of the conference as men and women will address our theme, the playlist studies from the book of Psalms. Now, I have talked to you already about the impact of that music have on all of our lives. I've suggested to you that there are times you can hear a certain song, and that song will take you back to a place, to a situation, to a time, and even to a person. And so I've talked about the impact of music generally on all of our lives. But let's talk about more specifically the Psalms that we have recorded for us. You will take notice of the fact that the book of Psalms is placed inside of what we call the wisdom literature. Now, the Psalms are, watch this, they are poems, if you will, set to music. Now, the first slide on the screen, the Hebrew title for the book of Psalms is Zephyr Tehillim. Zephyr simply means book. Tehillim means praises. Psalms then is the book of praises, just like the song book in your seat on Sundays. For those who still have song books in the pews, and we don't have them in our chairs and pews here. We put the songs on a big screen, blow the size up where Mama Nim can see them. But The book of Psalms was the song book for the Old Testament people of God. You would have heard them being sung inside of the temple complex, of the sanctuary, the temple complex, and then in the New Testament inside of the synagogues and even the temple. So just like you and I will have song books in our pews, and we would sing certain psalms and hymns in our worship and praise to God. That's what the book of Psalms was. Now, please be mindful of this. Uh, Not all of the psalms would have been performed in the temple. Remember, I said that a psalm is nothing but a poem that has been set to music. Now, not all of the psalms were set to what we would call musical accompaniment, but most of them were. So then, fundamentally, Psalms is simply uh, songs that have been set to music, and Psalms is the book of praises. Now, there was a writing in the Old Testament called the Septuagint. Alexander the Great had conquered the world. He had forced everybody to learn his language, which was the Greek language of the Koine Greek language. The Old Testament was written in Hebrew, but because Greek became the dominant language of the world, um, then the Old Testament Hebrew was translated into the Greek language, and that translation was called the Septuagint. Now, this was a translation that was used by Jesus. It was used even by uh, people uh, uh, during the time of Jesus, the apostles, and many others, simply because uh, that language, that Hebrew language, it didn't become non-existent, but it was not used as much as the Koine Greek was. And so in the Septuagint, um, this term Tehillim, the term for praises of the book of praises, is translated by the Greek term psalmos. The Hebrew term is Tehillim, book of praises. But when you take that same word and put it in the Greek language, it becomes psalmos. And psalmos means a song sung to the accompaniment of a stringed instrument. That's what psalmos means. That's the word you're going to find in the New Testament, particularly in Ephesians chapter 5, verse number 19. The term for singing is psalmos. We'll have much to say about that in the weeks to come, but right now, just know and understand that a psalm is simply a song sung to the accompaniment of a stringed instrument. So when the Hebrews use the term praises, Tehillim, they simply meant poems that have been set to music. Now, the book of Psalm has the distinction of having both the longest and the shortest chapters in the Bible. Now, you heard me say on last week that I'm using accommodated language now. I know better, but I'm talking to people who believe that Psalms, like the rest of the books of the Bible, comes in chapters and in verses. So we have a tendency to say the 23rd chapter of Psalm. I know better than that. Uh, and if from this day forward, if you hear somebody say, get up in church on Sundays and say, turn to chapter 23 or chapter 119, chapter of Psalms, you know that they missed this particular Bible study. Psalm does not come in chapters. They come in numbers or what we call divisions. But that aside, I'm going to use accommodated language, all right? Language that you're familiar with and language that you have come to understand, all right? So Psalms then has both the longest and the shortest chapters in the Bible. Psalms 119 has 176 verses. Psalms 117 has but 2 verses. So both the longest and the shortest chapters in the Bible come out of the book of Psalms. Now, and I believe this is where I stopped last week, and this is where I want to pull my pants leg up and walk slowly because we're now about to walk in some deep waters. Now, I'm going to be technical here tonight because when you hear some of these lectures in the conference, at least you'll have a frame of reference as to what the lecturers, the speakers, are talking about. Now, of all of the books of the Bible, Psalms is one of the most difficult. Now, it is one of the most beloved books. It is the one that even publishing houses, when they uh, 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 give you New Testament books, they'll always include the Psalms, simply because the book of Psalms is probably the most read of all of the books in the Bible, and that's a good thing. But what I'm saying to you is that of all of the books of the Bible, Psalms is one of the most difficult to interpret and to understand. Uh, and this is why I say that. I say it for several reasons. It is one of the most difficult, both to interpret and to understand, because listen to me carefully. This is a book that was written over a time period of 1,000 years. Now, I mean, think that through. I tell you what, let me give you the reasons, and then I'll enumerate them one by one. Uh, so it is difficult both to interpret and to understand because number one, the time period. Number two, the complexity of the book. I'll explain in just a second. Number three, the vivid imagery that's used inside of the book. It's like the book of Revelation that uses a lot of non-literal language that we call figurative language and are figures of speech. Uh, Explanation will follow shortly. And then the book is difficult both to interpret and to understand. Listen to me very carefully, because of the uniqueness of Hebrew poetry. I can hardly wait to get there. All right, let's start with the time period. The book of Psalms was written over a time period that covered more, watch this, than 1,000 years. Well, okay, so, how was that difficult? Well, uh, uh, think about that and think it through. Do you know how much stuff changes over 1,000 years? America has only been a nation for a little over 400 years. Now, can you, I mean, think of all of the stuff uh, over the last 400 years, of all of the changes that have occurred, of all of the laws that have been put in place and changed, of all of the attitudes toward people of African descent who were brought to this country, forced to come to this country as slaves. Think of the crisis going on now at the southern border of the United States, how people are getting real anxious and antsy about the fact that America as a nation is constantly changing, and how that the demographics are rapidly changing, and the impact that that's going to have on on quote unquote the white culture in America. There's a whole lot of angst. That there's a whole lot of unrest that's going on. And watch this: we're only 400 years old, and yet, while all of these things have happened, I'm glad to say there has been much progress concerning some of the issues that I just raised relative to slavery, relative to racism, relative to Jim Crow, relative to segregation. That there have been a whole lot of positive change. Just a few years ago, we had the first African American president of these United States. Now, watch this. We've only had in the 400 years, watch this, 45 presidents. I guess what I'm trying to say to you is this. All of this has taken place within 400 years. Can you imagine what took place over twice that amount of time? And yet, here's a book that was written over 1,000 years. I mean, the change in nations, the change in culture, the change in world powers, the change in language, the change in people, the change in territory. So here is a book that was written, watch this, and it took it more than 1,000 years to be written. Now watch this. That's just one book. And yet we have 27 books in the New Testament that took, watch this, less than 50 years. The first of our New Testament books was written in AD 48. The last of our New Testament book, the book of Revelation, was written in AD 96. That's 48 years. While the entirety of New Testament documents were written over a 50-year time period, the book of Psalms took almost 1,000 years to be written. So that factors in to the difficulty of trying to understand. Okay, the psalmist wrote this. Oh, watch this. You have Psalms 90. From everlasting to everlasting, thou art God. Well, Moses wrote Psalm 90. But Moses lived 300, 400, 500 years before David. So you got Psalms going all the way back, watch it, to the Exodus. David will become king 500 years after the Exodus. So wait a minute, I thought David wrote all the songs. No, he did not. And we'll see that on tonight. All right. So there's a gap, that there's a time period, and that complicates things for us as serious Bible students, because we're trying to figure out, okay, when was this written? And at this juncture in time, what did this word mean in that language at that time? All right. So that's what I mean by difficult to interpret and difficult to understand because it is written over 1,000-year period. You see on the screen right now where I suggest to you that Psalms 90 is the oldest of the Psalms written by Moses, 1,300 years before Christ. To Psalms 137, which was written prior to the Babylonian captivity. Here are people who are going into Babylon for 70 years. They've been asked to sing a song, and they are so discouraged that they say to their captors, "How can we sing the songs of Zion in a strange land?" Well, we got to go back and put that into historical context. They're no longer in the land. They are under the rule of somebody else, and they are despondent and they are discouraged, and they write a song. Watch this, telling how they are feeling at that point and juncture in history. Let me see if I can go back to our own history. There was a point in time in the 20s and the 30s and the 40s that there was a genre of music called the blues. Oh my goodness, that's some good music, folks. I listen to some of the blues when I'm out there playing golf. Um, and see, that genre, that style of music was reflective of the hard times that our people as a race was going through. And so you got to understand, even today when people get upset and people get discouraged, they say, "Well, man, why are you singing the blues?" Well, see, I understand the language. I understand the jargon. See, it was music that captured how our people were feeling during during a time of depression, during a time of Jim Crow, during a time where slavery had been outlawed, but still practiced. The people were going through it, and they were singing songs to reflect their mood of what they were going through. Well, you have that throughout the book of Psalms. Now, so first of all, the time period. Number two, what makes the book difficult to understand and to interpret is the complexity of the book. Now, what do I mean when I use the term complexity of the book? Well, watch Psalms 24. Why hast thou forsaken me? In fact, you'll remember that Jesus uses that same language as he's dying on the cross. Well, he gets that language from Psalms 24. But here is the squeeze. Here is the tension. This does not comport. This does not fit Christian theology in light of Matthew 28, 18 through 20, where Jesus says, for those who go out and preach, for his disciples to go out and preach the gospel to the whole creation, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Lo, I will be with you even unto the end of the world. So now you got some tension. But notice I said that when Jesus was dying on the cross, watch this. He cited this, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? So now you got to go back. Take Jesus' statement back to Psalms 24 and find out what's going on at the time that the psalmist will write Psalms 24. That's what I mean when I talk about the complexity. How does one understand the complexity of emotions and requests as they are revealed in the imprecatory Psalms. Well, wait a minute. What kind of Psalm did you just say? Well, look at my screen here. See, the word imprecate means to call down calamity, destruction, and judgment by God on our enemies. There's a whole category of Psalms called imprecatory. I've listed some for you on the screen. Psalm 7, Psalm 9, Psalm 35, Psalm 39, Psalm 55, 58, 59, 69, 79, 83, 94, 109, 129, and there are others. We call these imprecatory Psalms because the writer, the psalmist, is asking God, watch this, heal my enemy dead. Oh no, bro. You, you know, how does one, and if you read the graphic on the screen, how does one understand the psalmist praying about his children's enemy becoming fatherless? His enemy, the wife of his enemy becoming a widow. Well, wait a minute. Only way she can become a widow is that her husband died. Here is a man, here is the psalmist writing a song asking God to kill his enemy. Well, now watch it. Not to love his enemy, kill his enemy. He said, and let his children wander about and beg. See what I mean when I talk about complexity? How does number one, interpret that? How does number two, one understand that? And then thirdly, how does one apply that? See, if you decide, well, listen, man, I'm gonna put this song to music, and you singing as a praise to God, God killed my enemies, when God has told you to love your enemy. But yet there are categories of psalms where people are writing songs, singing them in praise and in adoration. Watch this. To God Almighty. So number one, there's the time period that makes it difficult to understand the Bible. There's the complexity of emotions that we have to understand. What's going on? Why is it going on? Why do you feel this way? And so all of that adds to the complexity of the book. Number three, the book uses what we call figures of speech. Watch this. Vivid imagery, colorful language that you cannot take in a literal kind of way, because the book uses, watch this, exaggerated language and colorful word pictures. Now, term for that is a figure of speech. Now, interestingly, we use figures of speech in everyday conversation. as a lad of a boy, I used to hear Mama and them say to me and to my brothers and sisters, if you say it one more time, I'm gonna slap the taste out of your mouth. Now, that's what she literally said. Now, I came later to understand that what she meant was she was going to hit me so hard. She was going to hit one of my brothers or sisters so hard that you're not going to be able to know that you have taste buds. Now, watch this. She couldn't literally slap one of my senses. That is the sense of taste. See, it was a way of saying, I'm going to hit you real hard. So hard that you're not going to even be able to know. Watch it. You're not going to be able to appreciate your supper tonight. Watch this. Understood that? I mean, how many times have I gone home and Shirley said, my wife said to me, said, baby, you hungry? And I would say to her, I'm so hungry, I can eat a horse. Now, she ain't going out to no farm and kill no horse and prepare any horse meat for me. She understands that watch this, I'm really, really hungry. And since I'm really, really hungry, don't be trying to fix me no salad tonight. Don't be giving me no fruit tonight. Don't be giving me a hot dog tonight. No. I'm more hungrier than that. But watch my comparison. Watch my figure of speech. Watch my exaggerated language. I'm so hungry, I can eat a horse. Well, a horse weighs what? Couple of 2,000-3,000 pounds. I mean, I'm about two. That's all right. I'm trying to get it down because clothes are getting too tight. Now you notice what I said. Clothes getting too tight. Shirts getting too tight. Pants getting too small. Well, watch this. They were the right size when I bought them. But watch this. We ain't gonna take responsibility for gaining weight. We want to blame it on Coke. It's like clothes got too small. Well, they were extra large when I bought them. You know, waist was a certain size when I bought them. Watch it. That's not what has happened. What has happened is that more of me, I ain't gonna be by myself, and you, then gain so much weight that we want to put it on the clothes when it's really on us. Now, watch this. Don't miss the preaching point. A figure of speech is nothing more than exaggerated language. First Lady and I went to a ball game on the last week, and we saw the Atlanta Braves play the Miami Marlins. And so we watched the game in excitement, went to extra innings and all that good stuff. And one of her favorite players, Michael Harris Jr., knocked in the winning run, and she was happy as all outdoors. So we left. And if you ask me, well, who won the ball game? I will tell you, the Braves defeated the Marlins. Well, wait a minute. A marlin is a fish. Brave is an Indian. Now, I really don't have to explain that to this audience because we understand that I'm using non-literal language. Fish cannot beat a man. Can't do it. All right? That's fish called a marlin cannot beat an Indian called a brave. Well, we understand that those are the mascots for those two particular baseball teams. In football, your team here is the Atlanta Falcons. You can read a headline that say that the Falcons beat the Bears, or the Bears beat the Falcons. Well, a falcon is a dirty bird. A bear is a huge animal. Birds don't beat bears, all right? And vice versa. But I'm not talking literal language. I'm talking mascots. I'm talking a special use of language that we call figures of speech. You have to be able to understand that when you're reading the book of Psalms, you're going to have a whole lot of vivid and colorful language. God is described as a shepherd. Well, what's a shepherd? Well, a shepherd is somebody that can take care of sheep. So God is given, watch this, a human characteristic of a special kind of a man with a special kind of a occupation. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Well, you got to understand that what the metaphor that he's using there, he's trying to get you to understand something about God. All right? God is referred to as an archer. He's referred to as a warrior, and I'm placing the scriptures beside these and would encourage you to go and read them. God is described at Psalms 18:9 as a storm cloud. God is described at Psalms 89:26 as a rock. And so you have to understand that the book uses exaggerated language called figures of speech. Unless we recognize the figurative language that is used in the Psalms and understand how to interpret such language, we will not know how to read and apply the Psalms. It's almost like reading the book of Revelation. You have to know that is non-literal language. You cannot interpret that as being literal kind of language. And so it is with the book of Psalms. Now, especially prominent. Now, I've said to you figures of speech, especially prominent in the Psalms are figures of speech known as personification, simile, and metaphor. Now, what do you mean? All right, we got to go back to 7th and 8th grade English grammar now. Personification simply attributes human characteristics to something non-human. So in Psalms 23:4, when it says, goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Watch this. Goodness and mercy chasing after me. Come on now. Uh, uh, Goodness and mercy cannot run after us as human beings can. Well, you got to understand his special use of language there. A simile is a comparison using the word like or as. It presents an explicit or an express word picture. So you can read it, Psalms 42:1. Watch this. As the deer, what as simile, all right? As the deer pants for the water brooks, so my soul pants for you, O God. Now, what's he trying to say? It is well, you know, what's he trying to convey? I want you to watch this. He said, I want you to see a deer panting, that is breathing hard. Watch this. He's thirsty. And unless he finds some water, he's going to die. And the psalmist sees himself as, watch this, as a deer looking for water. But he says, it's really my soul that's drained. I'm thirsty, looking for God. First, Dr. Barclay, I'm trying to teach the Bible as best I can. And then the third one is what we call a metaphor. a metaphor also makes a comparison, but the comparison is implied. It is made without using like or as. In other words, it is factually stated and draws the comparison more closely. Watch this. The Lord is my shepherd. See, the Lord is like a shepherd. That's a simile. But the Lord is my shepherd. That's a metaphor. And so we got to understand this kind of language. Now, and I'm about to close here for tonight. Unlike English, Hebrew poetry is characterized by parallelism, not rhythm and rhyme. Oh, you need to hear me. See, uh, uh, our poetry is characterized by rhythm, rhyme, and meter. Listen, we grew up on this one. Watch this. Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. Jack fell down and broke his crown, and Jill came tumbling after. Jack got, and home he ran as fast as he could caper. He went to bed and bound his head with vinegar and brown paper. Now, we grew up with that. See, our poetry is characterized by rhythm, by rhyme, and watch, even by meter. By, amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved the wretch like me. I once was blind, but now I see. I once was blind, but now I see. Was lost, but now I'm found. See, that's English. That's not the way they did poetry. Well, one of my favorite poems that I learned in 10th grade, Edgar Allan Poe. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary over many quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. Ah, 'tis some visitor, I muttered, tapping at my chamber door. Only this and nothing more. The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. I learned that in 10th grade. On Sunday mornings when they asked me to do a sound check. I said, say something, Doc Barclay. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary over many quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore. See, watch this. See, our poetry is characterized by rhythm, by rhyme, and even by meter. You got to say it in a certain kind of cadence. Hebrew poetry, watch the screen and I bid you good night. It's not characterized by rhythm, rhyme, meter, cadence. Hebrew poetry is characterized by a literary genre called parallelism. I told you I'm going to have to be technical with you tonight. You'll hear this throughout the conference on next week. Parallelism is a literary pattern that states one idea in one line and focuses more closely on that idea in the following line, either by repeating the thought in different terms or focusing on the thought more specifically. Now, I will give these to you. I'm not going to be that technical with you and define everyone for you. But there are five kinds of parallelism. One is called synonymous parallelism. Now, what I do is I give you the text where you can go and kind of see this. Uh, synonymous parallelism. And then there's what is called synthetic parallelism. And then there's what is called antithetic parallelism. And there's what is called climatic parallelism. And there's what is called emblematic parallelism. Now, that's just to show you my education. All right. That's not going to be much help for you. But you at least have to understand the nature and the characteristics of parallelism. Now, why? And I bid you good night after this. When God gave his revelation, he spoke to his people in ways and thought forms that related to their own unique world, culture, and time. How many times have you heard me say that the Bible was written for you? It was not written to you. Remember that I said that this book is written over a 1,000-year period. And do you know how much language and culture and thought forms change over a 1,000-year period? If you don't see the complexity of that, it's clear to me that you never read Shakespeare. You never read Geoffrey Chaucer's Canterbury Tales. You're talking about difficult, hard reading. See, you and I read simple English today. But go back a couple of 100 years and try to read that English. See, that's one of the difficulties of reading the King James translation. It's a translation that was written in 1611. Do you know how much language has changed since 1611? And this is why we find the Bible difficult to understand, because it was written at a time when the language was not as clear as it is for us today. I mean, words were not spelled the same. And not only were they not spelled the same, some of those words have changed meaning. You've heard me illustrate this before. Back in the 1960s, we would write our little girlfriend's letter. We start off the letter, dear whoever. How are you today? And you would then say to them, I'm happy and gay. Well, in the 1960s, that created no problem, because while you had people who embraced that lifestyle in the 1960s, it was not popular, and it certainly was not dominant, and it was not even acceptable. People who lived that kind of lifestyle, lived it outside of public view. Well, it's on Front Street. In fact, it's not only on Front Street, it's on Main Street. And it's an acceptable lifestyle. Now, if you ask me how you're feeling today, I'll just tell you I'm happy. I won't be saying to anybody today I'm happy and gay, because it would be misunderstood. But what if I put it in writing to a girlfriend back in the 1960s? And now you go back to the 1960s, and then you draw a conclusion of my sexual behavior and lifestyle based upon a word that I use and was understood in a certain kind of way, but has since changed its meaning totally and completely. Well, friends, that's the book of Psalms. It's written over 1,000 years, and language and culture, uh, environment, the world, customs, militaries, common understandings have changed so dramatically over that time period. Well, I'll be coming back after the conference and kind of pick up this trend of thought again. But again, now starting this Sunday, go to our website, Stonecrest Issachar Conference, and be blessed by the 4th annual Stonecrest Issachar Conference. And don't forget to donate to the conference to these worthy causes that we are sponsoring and promoting. And until then, may the Lord of the harvest bless you, and may he bless you real good.